Massive spoiler warning for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is out, and it actually made me feel emotions. Inside my cold, Grinch-like heart sparked some joy, sadness, and excitement. I was genuinely giddy seeing the Illuminati of Earth 838, especially when they were all horribly dispatched by Scarlet Witch like she's Jason Voorhees going after so many randy teens. But who are the Illuminati and where did they come from? There's a big difference between the secret group the MCU gave us and their comic counterparts. Join me as I break down how the MCU changed the Illuminati. A quick bit of info on what the term Illuminati means and where it comes from. Don't worry, viewer, this video isn't about to become a history lesson. There are various groups that have supposedly held this title in our own world, but there is just as long a list of Illuminati in fiction. It would make sense for Marvel to have their own. The basic idea is that it's a secret organization made up of the world's elite. It exists only to affect or control the world through various forms of influence and direct action. Occasionally, they try to stop Lara Croft from finding something. In the Marvel Universe, there is no denying that the most powerful and influential people are the leaders of the various superhero teams that run around. The superhero-based Illuminati are just as secretive as the real-world mythos implies. Both the comic and film versions operate without the knowledge of the public. While the Avengers or Fantastic Four get buildings with their symbols on it, the Illuminati meet secretly away from prying eyes. So, who are the newly introduced and then quickly dispatched Illuminati of Earth 838? It contains some of the same members as its comic counterpart. Center among them is Professor Charles Xavier. This incredibly powerful telepath is also the leader of the X-Men. Even though he is played once again by Patrick Stewart, this is the closest he's ever looked to his comic and cartoon self. It's not just the yellow hover chair, because even the circular thought beam representing his telepathy is taken right out of the 90s cartoon. The next most prominent member is Reed Richards, played by Jack Ryan star John Krasinski. Richards is also the leader of the Fantastic Four. In fact, the 838 Illuminati are all leaders of their own teams, with maybe the exception of Rambeau's Captain Marvel. It's still unclear if John Krasinski will be reprising this role in the upcoming Fantastic Four film, but we certainly know it won't be this version. There is also the fork-headed royal Blackagar Boltigon. Yes, Black Bolt has a tremendously stupid real name. It's like if Peter Parker was actually named Spider-Gar Managon. Black Bolt is the leader of the Inhumans and is once again played by Star Trek's Anson Mount. What do I mean by once again? Well, we can all be forgiven for forgetting that Marvel had a failed half season of a terrible Inhumans show. Anson Mount played Blackagar on the failed series. Since then, he has gone on to a much better character with Captain Christopher Pike on Strange New Worlds, which, unlike Inhumans, is actually a good show. Hey, the Illuminati has 2 Star Trek captains on it. Let's get Haley Atwell in a center seat and make it a hat trick. Speaking of which, next up is Captain Britain herself, Peggy Carter. This version, while not the exact same, is similar to the Captain Carter introduced in What If. She was enhanced with the Super Soldier Serum instead of Steve Rogers. This isn't the exact same Peggy from What If, so if you like her in that, don't worry, that one's torso is still attached to her legs. Finally, there is Captain Marvel, but not the one we know normally. This Captain Marvel is Maria Rambeau. Maria was Carol Danvers' friend and fellow test pilot. It seems that in the 838 universe, Maria was the one who gained the powers cosmic. In the Prime MCU, Maria's daughter Monica has gained similar powers due to her messing with Wanda's bubble too many times. She probably won't be too happy to hear that Wanda killed her mother from another dimension. She's probably now wishing she hadn't helped her defeat Sword and Agatha. The comic book origins of the Illuminati are actually relatively recent. Their first appearance was in the Brian Michael Bendis Century storyline of New Avengers in 2006. The members of the original group of esteemed and powerful gentlemen were brought together by Tony Stark just after the Kree-Skrull War. The tech billionaire's original idea was to create a united nation of superheroes. He realized that not only did the wider galactic community consider superheroes Earth's police force, but that each of the individuals he rounded up had obtained information about the coming war, but none had the pieces to put it together. If they'd shared information and resources, they may have been able to stop the war before it started. It seemed like a great idea, until he was shouted down by the very people he'd nominated as representatives. To be fair though, we have seen what happens when Tony decides he's Earth's only hope.
Do you see the beauty of it?
One of the people shouting him down was Namor the Submariner, king of Atlantis and half mutant, half merman. Besides the regular suite of superhuman powers, Namor can also speak telepathically to marine creatures. He's even got an expanded lifespan, to the point where he fought in both world wars, sometimes with Captain America. Yep, he's just cooler Aquaman. Or he's cooler than most versions of Aquaman.
On guard, you microscopic misanthrope!
Professor X and Reed Richards also didn't agree with the idea of a superhuman UN, but thanks to some suggestions from Doctor Strange, all saw fit to form a secretive council that allowed them to coordinate on the larger threats Earth and its citizens faced. One of the more notable choices made by the comics Illuminati was a poor decision on how to help Bruce Banner and contain the Hulk. A recent relapse into his savage form left Las Vegas in near ruin, and Banner's future control over his counterpart was very much in doubt. Tony Stark proposed shooting the scientist into space on a ship pointed at a peacefully uninhabited garden world. Professor X wasn't available for the vote, but Reed, Strange, and Black Bolt agreed. Namor was pretty angry about it and even got into a little tussle with the rest of the group. Namor was right in the end, however, because the spaceship got sucked into a wormhole and ended up on Sakaar. This has more or less been adapted into Thor Ragnarok, with the secret group noticeably absent from the story. Where this storyline differs from the fun Ragnarok is that in the comics, Hulk finds happiness being a king of a new world. He even found love. Unfortunately, the shoddy spaceship that crashed with Hulk on this world goes nuclear and eradicates most of the planet, including Hulk's new wife. Needless to say, he kind of wanted revenge on the 4 douchebags who were responsible for everything. What happened next is summed up pretty nicely by the very title of this event, World War Hulk. After some truly epic rampages, Hulk is eventually defeated, but the Illuminati were pretty much over as a group. Distrust had already begun to fracture their cooperation, and the Skrull replacements of the secret invasion shattered what was left. So that's it, they didn't really last that long as a group, instead serving as a failed attempt at collusion between the world's most powerful and arrogant people. Who could have guessed it would have never worked? I'm surprised it lasted that long. So there are a lot of big changes to discuss. First amongst them are the inclusion of Captain Carter and Rambeau's Captain Marvel. It's interesting to find these two taking a seat amongst the secret group. Their 616 counterparts aren't members of the comic version, instead replaced by Tony Stark and Namor. Given that Tony Stark is dead in the MCU universe, and Namor has yet to be introduced, their inclusion in any future version would require some further setup. The 818 Illuminati also exist in a world where the Avengers do not exist. They were formed in response to Thanos' attack. Also, because Tony Stark is not around for some reason, the whole thing was 818 Strange's idea. After his death at the hands of Black Bolt, his seat is replaced by the new Sorcerer Supreme, Mordo. Does that mean the MCU 616 Universe Illuminati would have Wong in it? The 818 Illuminati doesn't exist anymore, and really they only amounted to 15 minutes of screen time. It's even unclear if we will ever see Universe 818 again, so it's hard to say if we will ever see any real fallout from their deaths. Will anyone ever even know what happened to the secret group? The 818 and Comics Illuminati share one thing very much in common, even in the short time they appeared on screen. They are both arrogant and kind of dicks. In Multiverse of Madness, they let 818 Strange use the Darkhold to defeat Thanos, but then decide to destroy him with Black Bolt's voice. They are also dismissive of Wanda as a threat, right up to the moment she absolutely flattens all of them. The Comics Illuminati were the same, deciding to unilaterally make decisions like shooting the Hulk into space. In the end, both groups underestimated a hero turned foe and paid a large price for it. So here they are, and there they go. Before the film's release, we were all so sure that the Illuminati would play a pivotal part in the upcoming stories the MCU has to tell. I guess the joke's on us, because the secret group of the world's most powerful people let their own hubris destroy them. Well, their hubris and whatever Wanda did to Reed Richards.